Le Mans, arguably one of the coolest race series that is out there because it doesn't have politics. Well, okay, maybe it does, at least a little bit. But these high-revving V6s and V10s, lots of turbos everywhere, is really something to behold. Except Cadillac has decided to throw their hat in the ring. Yeah, that's a choice. We're not actually talking about the top tier, the LMH. We're talking about LMDH. And that's where this thing comes from. Rather actually quite cool. And it seems to have some sort of naturally aspirated V8. Specifically, the LMC 55R. And a lot are saying it's actually based upon this LT6 5.5 liter V10. It is probably the most unique approach, considering that there's a power limit that nobody can go over anyway. And I don't know how they were able to get the fuel efficiency to beat a smaller turbo engine, but apparently they have. Maybe there's cylinder deactivation, all that sort of stuff. But it does bring up something rather interesting because you can rev lower if you have a bigger V8 and get the same amount of power if it's got like the capacity to back it up. And plus, revving lower, which it would need to do, well, then it's gonna be probably more reliable. The question is though, have they gone far enough? So I'm going to take, basically the LMH sort of body and stick in the biggest engine possible. How big is the engine bay here? Pretty big. We're going rear-wheel drive. And there we go. 11 liter. We're going to try to make this as low revving as possible as well. Okay. 15.5 liters. We should probably also make this super light because otherwise we're going to lose all the benefits of the extra power by having it be super heavy. And it seems that the crankshaft doesn't want to rev at all. So harmonic dampener increases our RPM redline to 7,000 RPM-ish. I think that's good enough. But it seems that the engine reliability is too low. The temperature of the engine headers is exceeding safe limits on a naturally aspirated engine. So usually in this game, a header will only heat up if maybe there's a lot of back pressure from something, say, like a turbo. But this is just big. We're also very close to the amount of power we're allowed to have anyway, but look at that torque, that's amazing. So let's rain down this RPM. And I don't know if we're gonna be able to make a small enough amount of power. Maybe if I drop the spring strength down. No, okay, it doesn't seem to care about that either. What about the exhaust? 2 exhausts? Okay, well, we gotta bring this power down somehow. Oh, headers are too hot again. And there we go. We are at thin limits now, which is 500 kilowatts. What does she sound like though, do you reckon? Oh, that's good. Oh, that is a good sound. And of course, like the Cadillac of old, rear-wheel drive. And oh no, our top speed is limited by the fact that our engine doesn't rev very high. Usually this would go much higher, but 346 kilometers an hour is still over 200 miles per hour. Let's just go ahead and hide the chassis for now. And what sort of aero package should we put on this thing? That's weird. When I add more traction to the rear, it looks like it oversteers more? Am I wrong in that? No, the more rear traction I add, the more it oversteers. I've never seen that before. Usually the more rear traction you have, the less the rear wants to let go. Not what this graph is showing, which is more oversteer. What the hell? I'm gonna quickly exit the game and relaunch it. And now if I add more rear wing angle, it goes... It's still broken. Wait, no, it's leveled out a little bit. Let's drop our front wing. Why is our front now creating lift? I literally don't know what's happening. It doesn't make sense. Now, I would move the engine forwards a little bit. It's not really a whole lot of cabin space, but we'll give it a try. Then we're gonna move the engine forwards until it's right up against the back window, and it still pokes through. Oh wait, hold on, we can drop it down slightly. I must say, those look really cool. But let's drop it down right up until it starts to poke through the bottom. That looks good. We're still coming through. My goodness. I mean, to be honest, what do I expect? This thing is literally the biggest engine I could fit in here. I'm thinking we might try to hide said engine with a little bit of this. Make it thick, make it tall, and make it long. Now it looks like this scoop was meant to be here, except it's not covering up the engine. There, okay. That, close enough. And I've aptly named this the America car. What does the racetrack around automation reckon we can do? I'm gonna get somewhere around like a mid 150s. And, 148, actually, you know what, not a bad time. But where'd all this oversteer come from? What the hell? Do I just believe it and put more front wing angle and maybe reduce the rear angle a little bit and bring all of the drag down a smidge? Because apparently there's a lot of drag happening. But what does it reckon we do now? A 148 around the track with our new improved aero? It's slower. So clearly, this graph is lying to me. Well, it seems that it's not a glitch, but that's how it works, and apparently this person reckons it's weird when the vehicle weight distribution is weird. Don't ask me, I couldn't tell you how or why this is happening, but just that it is. But we're not going to let it really take too much away from the fact that we've created a 15.5 liter V16 for this thing. So I brought this bad boy out and I put it next to what's probably going to be pretty close but not exactly right now, the car which I'll be taking around the Le Mans as my car. And we're going to try to pit it against this thing. First of which, we're going to start putting the EV in both vehicles. And then we're going to test this thing with a 0 to 100. We might back up for this. Now 0 to 100 is 0 to 62 miles per hour, if you're wondering. And our time to 100 is 2.7 seconds. Not bad. This thing, which is silent in comparison, but still really awesome sounding, does it in, going up now, and 2.32 seconds. You know what, let's try that again on both of their behalf. So 2.2 seconds. 2.6, so clearly this one is slower, so the torque really seems to help. So let's maybe try some handling for the next challenge. We're gonna see what we can go around the T1. Now this one I know I have to take it fairly wide and then cut across at about 290 kilometers an hour, all right? Oh, we're bottoming out. Oh, that's weird. Okay. Why we shouldn't be bottoming out? I was pretty sure that I made the suspension stiff enough, though it does feel a little bit lower than what it should be. Let's do some suspension Z offset. We've lifted up the back 5 centimeters. You know what, maybe we go just a little bit higher than that. Let's go up to 7 centimeters. That still looks possible. The front doesn't really create any downforce, so we should be good. Now we're gonna try to approach the corner again. The vehicle feels a little bit weirder, but that's fine. 290. Has the extra weight affected us too badly? Oh, lots of understeer. Oh dear, a lot of not good braking. Ouch. Let's see if maybe I'm just not very good at the angles that I'm meant to be doing things. So, because I'm not used to the vehicle, lift a little bit, 280-ish. Okay, lots and lots of understeer, but possible. Okay, next is fuel usage. That was a weird thing for the fuel consumption thing to do at the bottom there, but we're gonna see what this thing can do around the racetrack. And I also know that in a sim rig I can do about a 132 in this thing. I think I've just got this thing maybe a little bit better balanced. The brakes, on the other hand, are better in the other car compared to this one. The brakes here are not great, but it is fairly zippy and it does turn in quite nicely. I think the suspension is a bit weird. I may have not set this up in its final iteration. I also just noticed that the rear suspension does bounce a little bit, which is something I did fix with the tune of this vehicle, but I forgot to implement that tune, but you know, it's doing okay despite that. This thing is pretty good. So the top speed of this should be around 205 miles. No, okay, it goes faster than that. So by our braking point, we should just be beyond the 200-meter board at about here. 338 kilometers an hour. But I reckon the biggest advantage of the other car is going to be under acceleration. Maybe not quite so much the top speed. I probably should have had a lap timer up. I suppose I'll get the sim rig out and we'll actually do a proper test of the car as well, just to see what the go is. But fuel efficiency is probably the most important thing when it comes to an endurance race like this. Braking, I always brake way too early for this corner, but here we go. Oh, that bouncy suspension. The automation export is doing weird things. It really shouldn't be doing that. But having softer dampeners does fix that issue. If anybody notices they have like a thing where their vehicle spawns in and it bounces by default, that's what's happening. There's some sort of issue there with the dampeners being too stiff. Usually on the suspension which is bouncing, which in most cases is going to be the rear suspension. But yeah, let's just fast forward a little bit to the ending. And we have used an average of 51 liters per 100. Even with the weird bouncy bottom end, we're down to 42.93 liters. All right, let's go ahead, refresh this. And now we're going to give this beastie a bit of a try. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that this thing is probably going to use a hell of a lot more fuel. But I suppose we'll just have to wait and see. We do have a lot of understeer, so there's going to be a lot of lifting, which is going to affect our... Oh, okay. This thing is beastly when powering it out of corners. So we're going to have to be a lot more careful with this thing. Just the weight distribution is very different. And the aero differences as well also had to be just completely alien to me right now with how much... the vehicles are just so insanely different. Oh, okay. Powering out of corners causes massive understeer. Probably doesn't help with the electric motor in the front as well. But here we go. Okay, powering it out now. Bringing it down the Marsan straight. Seeing what we can do at Le Mans. So I know that it said we're going to do less than 300 kilometers an hour in automation, but we do have the EV motor on now. Oh, we are considerably slower though. Our top speed is nowhere near the same amount. If we pause at the same place, we are about 20 kilometers an hour slower. That's crazy. Well, let's see how we go on to brakes then. And I feel the brakes in this are so much better. And then, oh, it understeers. That extra weight in the front just plays weird, especially with the electric motors pulling us out as well. That's going to be a bit of an issue as well. I reckon, though, with just a little bit of practice and maybe a little bit of extra tuning, we can get this to maybe do exactly what we wanted to do. So let's brake a little bit later, get turned in. Oh, okay, well, if you're coasting, this thing does really like to turn. It's almost as if it's got like a rear engine weight balance, like a Porsche there for a second, where sometimes on coasting those things can do rather well. All right, let's go for the last corner on the straight. Brakes are rather good. And power out of there. Okay. Our average fuel consumption so far is actually a little bit lower. And now it's a little bit higher. I don't know how this is going to go. Now, the next corner, I do not know how this car is going to take it at all. Because usually I can go blasting through here, but it's afterwards where it gets a little bit hairy. Oh, okay. You know what? That's actually done pretty well. If I was in my sim rig, that would probably be a little bit better. Usually what happens there is after the corner. Oh! Well, that wasn't good at all. Yeah, after that bending, like the long corner before the hairpin, right, left turn, is it unsettles the car, so you can't brake until you're in a straight line, but you're usually too far over. Sorry, too far into the corner for you to brake in time. So it's a very tricky course. All right, coming through. I think these are called the Porsche S's. I could be wrong though. Usually I am, because I don't actually know the corners' names. The only thing I really know is the Mulsanne Straight and Chicane 1 and Chicane 2. That's it. I don't know if the chicanes are named. But I probably should, shouldn't I? Whatever. Anyway, we're coming down now. We got 2 more chicanes until the end. Braking point. Oh. So over a shorter distance, this thing will trounce that car, I reckon. But then, yeah, it has some issues sometimes with the weight distribution. Okay. Well, there you have it. The fuel usage is about the same. It's a little bit higher, but the fuel remaining is lower. So it has actually used more fuel. So it's a bust. I don't know what Cadillac is thinking, that a big naturally aspirated engine is better than a smaller turbo one, but maybe they're just going for reliability. Who knows? Let's get the sim rig then. Bring you up. Okay, let's try this now. Bringing it around, getting it to T1. I should probably practice with this car at least a little bit, but we're gonna bring it up now and start hot lapping. This thing really does need to change gears a hell of a lot more than the other car. So that's going to be something to take into consideration. A little bit of a lift there, does get that nose turned in. So very much like a... Oh my god, the wheel spin. The other car cannot spin the wheels. This thing really... Oh, I've lost a tire. Oh god. This thing spins wheels in third and sometimes in fourth as well. So it is just beastly. All that wasted power. You can hear it. In fourth gear, it just did it again. So maybe it's not sometimes in fourth, but like a lot of the times in fourth. That lumpy engine back there, oh boy. That thing is just absolutely ghastly with the amount of power it has. But we're bringing it down Mulsanne Straight now. Not the highest top speed. This thing struggles to even get close to 200 miles per hour, which is 320 kilometers an hour, and it just won't do it. So braking on a slightly later braking point, a little bit of a shuttle with ABS on the way in. And this thing will understeer if you power on too soon. So that's something to keep in mind. And then I have to shift so early in those lower gears because the thing has such a short rev range. I just expect it to want a longer shifting because of what I'm used to with the other cars. Maybe if I brought the gearing down a little bit, we might get a little bit more power in the top end, which would allow us to get that higher top speed. That wheel spin, it's crazy. Now, I know that that's probably because automation is just for some reason, are just really weak in their LSD nature, the limited slip nature of it. They're exporting rather weak right now, and I don't know fully why. Maybe it's because they're meant to be for road cars and not exporting race cars like this. Oh, didn't shift. Can barely hear it. This engine is very quiet. I'm gonna turn my headset up a bit. It's surprising how quiet this thing is. Now, you may notice that, yes, the steering wheel doesn't move, but that's because I haven't modified it yet. I probably will have a video coming out soon. I have much better ways of doing it now, where you don't have to add nodes. All you have to do is just change a few different numbers, and then everything works out. So, braking through there, and then nice and easy up to here. Oh, understeer, understeer. That was brutal. Then we have to brake a little bit earlier for the next... the next chicane, I was about to say, because this thing does tend to get from one chicane to the other a lot faster. And I'm back to where I was. Now, I don't mind redoing the lap, because I get to listen to this great engine. And you know what? I'm gonna let you guys just have a bit of an ASMR race session as I give you the listening to the rest of this lap. in silence. Those are some good sounds. That was pleasant, but that was not a good lap time. That was a 3:42. I am 10 seconds faster in the other car than what I am this one, which was really disappointing because I was actually hoping that there might be a little bit of a hidden meta that I was unsure about, but no, it turns out that race teams know what they're doing when they pick their engines, and I was just being a little bit daft by basically putting 2 giant V8s in the back, which is actually, probably I'll put that in my thumbnail or title somewhere, that is just like 2 giant V8s as opposed to 1 engine sort of thing, or I don't know, we'll see what I do there. But this is fun. But for now, I want to thank my channel members. I'll catch you all next time. Goodbye.